I would like to introduce.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Dylan.
I'm PJ.
And I'm Derek.
And this is Unmasked on Air, the show where your four favorite fanboys gather to discuss all things nerd.
Tackling the amazing, the incredible, and the spectacular.
Geeks, gamers, comic fans, lend us your ears.
Thank you for spending your time here with us at Unmasked on Air. All right, guys, how we doing today? Calvin, you doing okay?
Oh, you meant me?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were talking to like us or the people who were listening.
Specifically, the other three of you here.
Oh, okay. I'm great. I'm excited to be doing this. Love this. I love it.
I love you.
I love you too, man.
Yeah, how's that workout regimen going?
I'm not.
You're buff as balls. Derek, how are you? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
That's great.
Glad to be here.
Dylan, how's it going?
Doing good.
Cool. Well, I'd like to begin by diving straight into the moral quandaries of the human spirit and do the beginning segment, PJ's Icebreaker question.
I love this.
Yeah, it's my favorite part because it's me.
Right. Naturally.
So a lot of times heroes and their backstories end up with them waking up one morning with incredible gifts, incredible powers. Spider-Man's a good example of that. Matt Murdock's another good example of that. They both have something happen and they wake up the next day and can do incredible things.
Oh.
Although Spider-Man has the way better end of that, I feel.
See,
Because he still has all five senses plus an extra one.
Spider-Man wakes up and he goes, I can swing from buildings. Well, Tobey Maguire says that because they come out of his wrist. It's weird, but I can backflip 3 times the speed of a normal person. And Matt Murdock, meanwhile, is going, where is everybody?
See, when you said wake up in the morning with incredible gifts, I thought we were just talking about Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas question. No, so my question is, if you woke up with those powers,
Right.
the moral quandary is, would you take on the burden of great responsibility and be a hero, or would you free yourself of the burden of responsibility and be a villain?
That is a good icebreaker.
Any powers?
Yeah, like when you think of a superpower,
Right.
and you have that one that you, because I'm always, when I think you wake up with superpowers, I think you wake up with Spider-Man's powers. And so if I woke up with Spider-Man's powers, would you be a hero or a villain?
Okay.
And I'll take it first. I would absolutely choose to be a hero. I recognize that it's a relatively thankless job being a superhero, but I feel good about myself. Like when I hold a door open for somebody and that guy, the man or woman or child or whomever is like, oh, thank you very much. I'm like, yeah.
So
I do amazing things. And so if I could.
I mean, also, though, if you were Spider-Man, your dead Uncle Ben had already told you with great power comes great responsibility, so you have to be a hero.
Well, I don't want my uncle to die.
I mean, me neither, but that's why I don't want to be Batman, because I like my parents.
Do you think that the Rhino's uncle told him a similar thing whenever he got like his powers and whatnot?
Except it was like, with great power, be a bad person.
Steal as much money as you can from banks.
Build a big suit and
With
kill
great
people.
power, very little people can stop you.
With a big
Thanks, Uncle Jim.
with a big rhino horn, you can just smash the Jeeps at Rhino Rally in Busch Gardens.
Take all the money.
It's just like, over here, you'll see a white run-up. Oh, I'm sorry, that appears to be a giant Czechoslovakian man in a rhino costume. Oh, my God. Spider-Man. And then I jump down. I'm like,
Is that Paul Giamatti?
I jump down. I'm like, Calvin told me my uncle would die if I helped you guys. And then I just swing off.
Well, yeah, as long as you don't start being a hero, Uncle Ben's fine.
Oh. So, Calvin, would you be a hero or would you be a villain?
So, like, here's the thing. My whole life, I was bullied like hell. And so, like, a lot of me really wants to be like, oh, I woke up like Sinestro one day and fuck the universe. I'm going to be a villain. But, like, I know that I can't do that. Like, I know that when it came to it, I couldn't kill somebody. Like, I couldn't do that. I mean, so, but I would want to be a hero. But I think that my only hang up is that if I got superpowers, I would steal money from banks all the time because I'm not working anymore. I'm a hero now. I'm not going to do the whole Daily Bugle thing and try to, get a job. I'm not going to do that. I'm not taking pictures of Spider-Man when I'm Spider-Man. I'm not doing it. I'm just going to steal money from a bank. So if we can caveat with that one little kind of...
No. It is your life. But
I'm going to be a hero as best I can. but I'm going to steal money from banks.
Okay, so you know what? That's actually called a villain.
No.
You're robbing people.
No. I'm not robbing any people. I wouldn't like hold people up. I'm talking about like the national treasury.
Question.
That's where the people's money is.
Where do you think
It's
banks get
insured.
money?
It's insured. If you bank with Bank of America and Bank of America gets like a massive theft, your money isn't gone. They're insured.
No, they just can't give it to you.
Yes, they can because it's insured. That's the whole point. Is I'm not actually damaging any one person. I'm damaging a big corporation, but only enough to survive. Like I'm not talking about like I'm stealing $50 million.
He's going the Tyler Durden Fight Club approach.
Right.
If we wipe the debt clean, then we're all off the hook.
That's not what I meant, but it's
It's a similar idea.
Sure,
though.
exactly.
Have you read that book?
yeah.
I feel like
Everyone read that book.
I feel like in you saying Tyler Durden from Fight Club, you talked about Fight Club, and that's rule number 1. I think that's the only rule.
So I think that's my answer. Is that like I would definitely be a hero. I would try to like stop bad things from happening. I'm not gonna work a day job to pay
Well-
my rent because I'm tired. And I want to be able to sleep during the day and rescue people at night, and I'm not going to have a job on top of it all. That's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, Derek.
I'm in the same like ballpark as you, PJ. I think
Right.
I feel good, like helping people or doing things for people. So being able to do that on a larger scale with powers of some kind, I would definitely want to do that.
Yeah, like the best part about Christmas is that what you give.
Yeah.
That you always look forward to that more. Right. So imagine doing that, but it's a school bus full of kids and you save them from, again, a Czechoslovakian man
Yeah.
in a large rhino costume.
Yeah.
Speaking of rhino costumed men, Dylan.
What is with that rhino costume that you're wearing right now?
Well, it's cold in here. It's the only thing I got to keep me warm.
Go get a jacket.
You don't own like a hoodie? You have a full-blown mechanized rhino suit?
Just that.
Okay, man.
So, do you save or do you destroy?
So, I think it's worth saying that we all want to be heroes because neither of us are really bad people. I would want to be a hero,
Right.
but I feel like I might be too impatient with people and their bullshit.
Bullshit, right?
I feel like I would be sort of like Ozymandias, like where I would do messed up stuff for good.
The greater good
Like
of
yeah,
like the most people.
The greater good.
New York's gone, but the rest of the world is fine. That's fine with me.
Okay.
So I kind of like an anti-villain, I guess.
Okay. A mastermind. You're a mastermind. Like that's
It's
a
like Lex
classification.
Luthor,
Right.
Or
kind of like Magneto too.
that's a good example.
Like he's a bad guy, but he's trying to do good.
You know, you say Magneto, and I think I've come to my other reason why I struggle a little bit with this question, and that's because when I drive, and you've all been in the car with me, I'll just pretend to stick my hand out and move traffic out of my way, and like in that moment, I would be the worst hero ever because I would kill people. Like bumper to bumper, I'm moving people. People try to 18-wheeler tries to get over in your lane. The whole thing's up. It's a crumpled mess, and it's on the other side of the freeway.
I'd try to be a hero, but then realize that it, to an extent, it just democracy doesn't work. So I gotta
got
take
deep with
things
Dylan.
into my own hands.
Getting deep with Dylan.
In the same vein of logic, I have a similar idea because, like, I want to be a hero because I think about, like, Derek and I, we think about the good that we can do for other people. But then I think of, like, I'm sitting in a room and somebody bumps into my shoulder and they're like, hey, man, watch where you're going.
Yep.
And then I would throw them into the moon. Like, if I'm Superman in that scenario,
Right.
I laser vision their brain into pudding. And then I eat that pudding. You always eat the pudding.
Okay.
so you want to be a hero, kid?
Well,
Whoop-dee-doo.
whoop-dee-doo. Yeah, if we're all satisfied knowing that we are humans and we can't give a definitive answer to the only question I asked, then I will chalk this up as a personal failure and we will move on.
No, I think that the conclusion really is Derek is the most wholesome and pure of us, and that the rest of us, I think that the answer we can draw from is that's why comic books and superheroes are so drawing to us, is because they can make the decisions that I don't think we have the capability to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that nails it, honestly, in a weirdly sort of appropriate sort of a conclusion here.
And not to go off on a tangent about a comic that I love, but that's why I think Injustice is such a good book and story in an opposite way. Because it's what if Superman, who has all the power, finally decided it was about him instead.
Yeah,
And I think that's why
for
that
sure.
book is good. Well, this has been, and I'm going to do this because I love doing this with
Yeah,
this
I'm
board
surprised
that
you
we
didn't
have.
do it.
Yeah, this has been PJ's Icebreaker question.
And it's you see it with merchandise, you see it with
Collectibles.
Yeah, no. I mean, to be a nerd, there are so many different facets about that. So at our show, we spend a lot of time discussing kind of anything nerd culture related, and I think that the best thing to do to make a decent first impression here is to kind of talk about what nerddom is for us, because you as the listener should know, I feel, where we're coming from when we have these discussions and our likes and our dislikes, and just kind of get to know us in that way. When you come to hear us talk about the things that you love, you know why we're saying the things we are and where we're coming from.
Yeah.
So with that, I have I'm going to kick this off. Like I said, there's so many different kinds of ways to be a nerd. So the question that I have is, what kind of a nerd are you? When I ask that, I mean kind of just however you take that question, roll with it. When you think like, oh, I like these things, this is the kind of, way that I am a geek or a nerd or whatever
Right.
word we want to use. I'm a fanboy of these things.
I mean, I think we're all comic book nerds, but I'm definitely a comic book nerd.
Sure.
And that's gotten better, worse. I don't know how to over the last several years. Because I did not read comics as a kid, really, but that's almost all I read at this point.
Right.
I'll pick up. I'm in the middle of Stephen King's It right now, but that's like reading the Bible. It's so long.
Yeah.
And then I mean the biggest thing is, other than comic books, would be I'm a movie nerd. I'm a cinephile.
Yeah.
No,
I've-
you for sure are.
Yeah. I'm weird about things like this. I try and keep track of like the movies that I've seen or the amount of movies that I've seen.
Right.
There's actually a really cool website called iCheckMovies.com, and you can make an account there, and then you just search for the movies that you've seen, and they have tons of lists and things like that, and you just check them, and it keeps a running tab of how many.
I was going to ask you the other day, actually, and I totally just forgot, but I was going to ask you because I thought about that, because you showed me that a long time ago, and it was like, that's crazy. What a neat little just thing to do.
Yeah. It's right now, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I know it's over 1,500 movies that I've
Wow.
seen in my lifetime that I can remember that I've seen from start to finish.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That is-
Yeah, that
That's incredible. Like, it's really cool.
that blows me away.
Yeah. I last year I kept track of like how many movies I saw in theaters and then at home that I had never watched before, so new movies.
Right.
They may not have been from like 2017.
No, new to
but
you
New
movies.
to me
Right.
movies. And if my number is correct, it's 100 even that I
Wow.
saw in 2017 new to me.
That's awesome. That's like every 3 or 4 days you're watching a new movie.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
it's right at 2 movies a week.
Now, do you have a specific kind of genre you lean towards with your films and or your comics?
I definitely do. For movies, for film, I'm a horror hound.
That's true.
And then I'm a sci-fi fan.
Yeah.
So I love anything to do with horror when it comes to movies. I read some horror comics here and there, and Stephen King is one of my favorite novelists. So he's the grand majority of his stuff is horror, as everyone in existence knows. So that's definitely a big thing, and it has been since I was a really young kid.
Yeah.
I got into horror early.
Which is weird because a lot of people like don't until they're adults really appreciate horror.
Yeah, and I don't know. I got into it really early, and then I do a lot of things. That's the genre that I probably watch the most of.
Yeah.
Sci-fi would be a close second because of things, mainly Star Wars.
Sure.
I think that brings a lot of people into the sci-fi realm and the film realm. And I like other sci-fi as well. I love like the latest Cloverfield movie recently came out, and I'm all about that. Like that's a cool, weird,
The
like
Netflix
Twilight
one?
Zone. Yeah, it came out on Netflix.
Did you like that one?
I really
haven't
did.
seen it.
It's of the three. Just a brief, like, these are my thoughts. Of the three, it's the weakest.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing about it is that it gives a reason for why the three movies in the Cloverfield universe, air quotes, how they came to be.
That's cool.
And there's already a fourth one that has been shot, and I think it comes out in November.
Cool. Is that also Netflix or is that box office?
I think it's supposed to go to box office.
Cool. I haven't
quick-
seen the first one. I only saw the second one, but it was really good.
Yeah.
Just a quick Cloverfield aside. I saw something about this today. I'm not. Again, I'm not. I've seen the first Cloverfield. I didn't see Cloverfield Lane, and I didn't see the Paradox. But from what I understand, the paradox, the Cloverfield paradox takes place during. Some of it takes place during the events of the beginning of Cloverfield. And I think the reason I understand that
Yes
is
and no.
somebody played Cloverfield along with the Cloverfield paradox at the same time. And there's I don't again,
I think it's like at the 18-minute and 50-second mark or something.
right something
Because I saw this, it was a Reddit post.
right something in Cloverfield paradox happens and like there's an explosion, and then that is in Cloverfield the moment where the first like major tremor happens and all the lights and stuff power
cool.
off for a second.
Yeah.
But they happen at. It looks like they are reacting to each other's scenes.
That's awesome.
which is pretty cool.
J.J. Abrams has actually already like tweeted about that and has said it's a complete just happenstance.
That's funny.
They did not plan for that.
That's weird.
But yeah, I like that sort of thing. I love the Twilight Zone, which is kind of where the whole Cloverfield thing is going. It's this anthology series. They're in the same universe, but they're not really in the same universe, kind of thing. It's
Right.
They can tell their own stories, but they all kind of tie back into a theme.
It's like
So
when
that's the sort of sci-fi that I really like.
Yeah.
I like things with twists. I like things that make me think, or that get a really emotional reaction out of me.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like other genres, of course. I like certain musicals I really like. I'm getting more and more into like westerns. I've never been big into like spaghetti westerns, but like modern westerns or westerns with a twist on them, like Westworld, which is a sci-fi western.
I haven't seen that new show. I've seen the movie.
I've never seen the original
bad
movie.
like 80s. It's cool if you like bad 80s movies, which I do.
Right.
So it's cool.
Now, when you say you're a fan of like Western movies with a twist, what you meant to say was Cowboys and Aliens starring Daniel Craig.
No.
Oh, you meant Wild Wild West starring Will Smith.
No, but
I love Wild Wild
one,
West.
I like it.
I need to rewatch Wild Wild West. It's on Netflix right now,
love
and
that
I'm going to. Cowboys and Aliens, I have heard it's awful, and I have heard it's amazing. And it depends on how you go into that film. It knows exactly what it was trying to be. And if you're taking it as, this is a serious movie about cowboys and aliens, you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
It's schlock for the point of being schlock.
Well, that's like
Just has a big budget.
R.I.P.D. Somebody told me that was really good, and it came from a friend of mine that I did not expect to like it. And they're just like, no, it's just bullshit. Like, it's supposed to be bullshit. Enjoy it. It's just drivel.
Some movies are just like that.
Okay, so if you had to condense all that, Derek, and tell me what kind of a nerd you were if I was meeting you in the street and we had, at a quick exchange. Hey, we're at this convention. What kind of a nerd are you?
I am... I'm an art nerd because I like sequential art like comics, and I like moving art like film.
That's awesome.
I like
That's
that
a good
lot,
answer.
yeah.
What about you, Cal?
See, I knew when I was bringing this up, this was going to happen. They're
it's
going to ask me the same thing.
It's a round table.
It's a square table.
It's a folding table.
I think it's hard for me. It's funny you said that about westerns. I just as a total aside, I fucking love westerns.
Yeah.
I like, but like you said, I'm not a huge spaghetti western guy. The modern westerns like Tombstone. I know it's modern with like huge quotes because it was like a '90s movie, but like Val Kilmer's Tombstone is one of my favorite films I've ever seen.
I would still count that as modern.
Yeah, because it's not the old like '60s, '70s spaghetti. Anyway, for me, I like to think that I'm definitely a comic book fan. Although it's kind of like you were saying, I didn't get into comics like really hard. When I was a kid, I read a lot of graphic novels because I like stories that start to stop. You know,
Right.
it's hard for me to carry on for 2 years and read a story arc. I like them condensed. And so much so that I'm reading Hellblazer right now, but like the 90s Garth Ennis run.
Yeah,
Because they're all volumized and I can just whip through them and get the story start to finish each time. So I'm a comic nerd. I'm a huge video gamer.
Yeah.
I have my specific like kind of genre-y choices when it comes to video gaming. I think really that's what it is. I think I'm a sucker for good character and good setting. I like that the universe, you know, whatever you're reading, I like it when there's a strong storyline and a strong universe and kind of, even if it is just our Earth right now.
Right.
Batman has Gotham. That is, it's a universe to itself.
True.
Even though it's Earth and our Earth right now, in quotes, it's not. It's Gotham is its own living, breathing thing. I like to have good characters. I love to have good growth, good story.
You're also a really big fan of like shadowy gothic V for Vendetta,
noir.
Batman. Yeah,
For sure. No, anything like that.
BioShock. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm a huge steampunk nerd, for certain.
yeah.
The aesthetic of steampunk is something that gets me, and I don't know if it's because, like, I just like the look, or if it's because there's always a good universe, because and that's also, I think, why I like Hellboy, and why I love Van Helsing, and why I love just all that sort of, I'm definitely a dark, gothic fantasy sort of nerd, too. Anything, like you said, dark and shadowy. As far as the medium that I like to go with, I do like comics. I like my video games. I'm not so much. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy that won't watch a movie, but I definitely don't compete when it comes to. I mean, most people don't compete when it comes to your number, but like even like the average person, I probably don't see as much television as they do. It's got to be a really good show, which is then, you know, like I said, it's why I keep coming back to. I think it's about story and universe, because I loved like Vikings. And I loved The Last Kingdom.
Right.
And that's all like Viking fantasy. And it's not a thing that I normally would get into, but the story was so gripping that I just killed it in like 2 weeks. I watched both seasons of Last Kingdom. It was really great.
It's like kind of based on fact, kind of based on their own fiction.
Yeah, Last Kingdom has historical fiction in the sense that like the people that they are talking about are mostly real. And the big events are all based in historic fact, but how they kind of transpire with these main characters who are all fake, that is where they take their liberties. But it's a really great show. I like I guess I like things that can carry me out of the routine.
Okay.
You know, when I was a kid, I never wanted to read like nonfiction. I still hardly like to read nonfiction. I'll read like biographies and stuff on people that I care about, but like the day-to-day, this is a book about me today, or this particular battle or whatever. If I don't care about it, it's not gonna. I love fiction. Anything that's fake, I'm like, just give it to me. And I don't know if it's escapism or what it is, but I like a good universe. I like a good story and character.
I think it's a good blend of both, because like when you read something as, you know, humongous as like Constantine or Hellblazer, which is something, again, that dark kind of grit horror noir. That's Hellblazer is completely up your alley.
Absolutely.
But I think it's escapism, because he's the cool, you know, dashing rogue. He's got your build, he's got your style, he smokes, he's got the thin red tie. It's the stuff that you like, but also, you know, it's not escapism, and it's more of like at least my life's not this bad.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I know
sure.
a lot of times I'll read something from Batman, and he's, you know, got a broken arm and he's laying in a gutter because he fell down a roof in Nightfall, and it's like, ugh, I'm happy that's not me.
Yeah.
So
Was that Nightfall?
no, it wasn't.
No.
I'm just saying broken bones.
No, but it happened specifically. I just read this the other day. He's swinging. His bat line gets clipped, and he falls down and he breaks like almost everything.
And the Huntress has to save him.
Oh, it's long. Is it Long Halloween?
I think it might be.
Oh man.
I don't know.
Hush?
Oh, I think it is Hush. No, I think you're right. I think it is Hush, because Huntress shows up on the
Oh,
cycle.
yeah,
it's Hush.
Because Thomas Elliott shoots the line.
Yeah, it's Hush. Yep, nailed it. Okay.
Good job, buddy.
I'm a huge Batman nerd too.
Okay, let's just say everybody here is.
Right. So yeah, I really think that to me it comes down to characters, storyline, and a good universe. And if it is that, then in most mediums I will enjoy it.
Yeah, whether you're reading it or playing it or watching it.
Right. Same thing with like Fallout 4 and any game like that. But I think that's why like when you ask me what my favorite games are, they're almost always ones with a start to stop linear storyline because I just fucking like that. Dylan, kind of a nerd are you, man? What are the things that you like to do that make you a nerd?
I'm a big science fiction fan. I
Cool.
love science in general, and even more when it's played around with in fiction. I'm a big fan of that. I'm also, along with you, Calvin, I like story, and I like compelling stories, human stories. I especially like it when it gets a little philosophical and can kind of put you in your place, and really make you feel and make you sort of immerse in whatever it is you're reading, playing, or watching.
Yeah.
I think Watchmen's a good example of that, like the philosophical, because
Like-
you have to figure out who you agree with.
Right, and it's showing a lot of human foibles, and I personally like that.
Yeah.
I'm also a big music nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much like musicals as much. It's just I like knowing about band members, their history, like equipment they use, and breaking down music, how it's constructed. It sort of goes along with my love for science and figuring out how things tick and stuff like that. And
You also play music, don't you? I mean, like,
yeah, a
how
little
many
bit.
instruments do you play, or can you play?
Mainly guitar. I started out actually with drums, but haven't done it in so long that I don't know that I could anymore.
Okay.
Recently started picking up piano.
Does that translate like one to another?
If you know enough about music theory, it sort of blankets over anything, any instrument you can play, which I don't know too much about music theory.
Well, see, I was going to say that's when I went from piano to trying to learn the bass because they're stacked so differently. You know, on a piano, your notes are all laid out in front of you.
Linear.
On a bass, you've got the 4 different lines, and you can hit the same note in multiple places.
Mm-hmm.
I could never get my head around that. It drove me nuts. Derek, you
Yeah.
play the didgeridoo, right? That's why you've got one in your house?
No, I just have that.
Oh, you don't play it?
No.
Do you play any instruments?
No.
Oh.
I played Guitar Hero when it was big. That's about as close as I've gotten. I'll sing karaoke, but I don't even know if I have the best voice. It's just kind of like
you have a nice voice.
carry a tune, I guess.
Yeah, mainly science nerd, I would say, is
That's awesome.
Sort of overarching of what kind of nerd I am.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I don't think I would have ever put like music and rock nerd to science fiction that way, but that makes a lot of sense now that you've said it. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, it does make sense.
Yeah.
It breaks down in similar ways.
Do you have a particular medium that you care more about than others?
I'm gonna say video games,
Yeah.
because it's involving you a lot more. You get to play the main character or a main character, and you get to interact with that world and influence it.
For sure.
But not too big into movies, kind of with you on that, Calvin. I just either don't have as much time, or it just doesn't capture me enough to want to put the time into it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I know that I should probably mention, Dylan and I lived together for like a year, and then we're moving back in together shortly. And when we lived together, we probably, 10, 15 times in the whole year, we would sit and watch movies. We would just I mean, especially like around like October and stuff, we would.
Yeah.
But there were very rarely that we would sit and just watch a movie. But we would sit and play video games for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that like I don't really do. I like video
Right.
games, and some of them I can really get into.
Or like the Halo series or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't. Which I mean, that leads into that's sci-fi. It's a sci-fi action
right.
game. Like, but I get bored with them really quickly. I don't know why. I'll play for 30 minutes and put them down.
Some games are like that.
I should also mention, and I'm sorry to come back to me for a second, but I totally failed to mention, I love that we play D&D, and that is also a huge like story-driven and universe-driven thing, and it's like no wonder that I love that. But that's another one that I think we all really enjoy.
And then lastly, also dark things, noir, gritty, stuff like that. One of the reasons I got into Batman was because it was dark and sort of spooky.
Spooky.
Um,
Derek.
It's spooky.
Am I supposed to say something?
No, I don't.
He's too afraid.
We spooked him out.
But yeah, like I said, I like humanizing sort of storylines that kind of put you into your place, and that sort of goes along with I like the darker stuff, seeing human flaws and how they can write around with that.
I thought you were gonna say human flesh, and I was like, that's hentai, Dylan. That's not what we're talking about, man.
It also plays into you liking video games a lot because that's putting your own human touch onto the character.
Right, you make your own decisions or decide what you're gonna do, what you're not gonna do.
Yeah,
things like that.
for sure.
What would you say your favorite like RPG video game is? It's okay to say Skyrim.
Patrick, stop
It's
projecting.
actually not.
Oh.
Oh, then I don't care.
I really like Dishonored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dishonored line is good. I mean, Fallout 4 is really good because it's open. It gives you a lot of choices. I
Yeah.
guess that's the same with Skyrim.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I would say Dishonored, just personally for me.
Yeah. No, I like Dishonored because it breaks a linear story into choices.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. Not a lot of games do that. And the ones that do usually do it, but Dishonored did it really well.
Dishonored is like my favorite video game.
So if you had to wrap up all those thoughts and all of those things, what would you say is your like
Your umbrella.
your wheelhouse? Yeah.
Science, because overall the science fiction mainly is one of my bigger likes, but also science has a way of making you feel shitty and small.
Let's be honest.
Which goes along with everything else that I've...
Let's be honest. You have a high IQ, so you watch Rick
I
and
watch
Morty.
Rick and Morty. And I understand it.
Better than the rest of us.
I don't understand it. I'm not depressed. Well, that's awesome.
PJ,
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
what kind of nerd are you?
I've had this whole time to sit and think, so I think my answer is going to be pretty concise. I'm going to give the broad, and then I'll give the narrow. My broad kind of nerdy. I love bright stuff, and I know I'm the counterculturalist here, but I love bright things. My favorite movie of all time is Iron Giant. It's like in the forest, and he's happy, and everybody's happy. and
Absolutely beautiful.
It's gorgeous, and
really
Vin
is.
Diesel's in it. But like I love
Who is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, he's gorgeous. But I love,
What?
and then I love dark. I love dark. Culture. I love like Daredevil's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite superhero, and I love their Netflix show that they have of him, and that's grayscale all the way. But I lean more towards bright stuff. I like Dragon Ball, and I like Destiny, and Spider-Man, and things with bright themes and color. I don't know, those things speak to me.
Spider-Man's a little depressing sometimes.
Well, sure, sometimes, but sometimes Hellboy is bright and funny.
But look at Green Lantern.
Right.
Green Lantern's a great example. I like Green Lantern because he's a guy with a troubled past.
Yeah.
And then I hate to sound like cliche, but the brightness punches through the dark. And
No,
he's
for
a
sure.
hero.
I mean, that's a very on the nose metaphor with the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
With the lantern writing.
Yeah. And I love movies that are, and I've talked to you guys about my fetishized love of rom-coms, and I love a good happy ending.
That's true. I had never put that together.
Yeah, I really like.
Yeah.
I also really like. You said Fallout, and I don't know why, and this is kind of very niche and very specific. I have such a like a nerd boner for things that are terrible, but set in a way that's jovial. Like, that's
Okay.
happy, but it's terrible. Like, my example is Fallout. You're walking around Fallout, and hilarious things happen. Like, vendor trons will walk up and be like, have an ice cold soda. And then a guy behind them is being, like, torn to shreds by a deathclaw. And it's like, this is terrible.
It's irony.
Yeah, but you're listening to, like, Bugle, like the Bugle Boy from Company B, and you're like, you're strolling along, and like
everything's just this gray, green, awful.
Todd Howard in their E3 thing when they announced Fallout 4, he's like, my favorite part of Fallout is you'll be sitting around, completing this quest in a vault. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of evil clones bust out, and Dean Martin's playing in the background, and it makes no sense. I love that. I love those like 50s. Like Fido is a movie that I love, which is weird because I don't do zombies at all. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the movie Fido, it's a movie about zombie apocalypse happens. Humanity immediately comes up with a counterintuitive where they strap collars onto the zombies, which nullifies them and makes them servants. One of them is named Fido, and he's like a pet. And it's great. Like, Fido eats an old lady at some point. But it's like irony. It's this dark, like, there's this gate that the rest of the zombies are all behind. And they live in, like, this 50s cottage town. And it's hilarious. Yeah. And I love that.
It's like a Canadian dark comedy.
Yeah.
And isn't, I don't know the actress's name, but she played Trinity in The Matrix.
Yes.
She's in it.
I don't know her name either. But, yeah, she's in it. And then my more narrow answer to that, if that was a good broad description, my narrow description is I'm like a hypochondriac nerd. And I know that sounds weird.
It does.
But when you think of a hypochondriac, it's like 0 to 100%. They're fine. And then the next minute they are dying of X, Y, and Z.
I think about Howie Mandel.
Yeah. Well,
Because
Specifically
PJ also has a shaved head.
Right. And yeah. No.
and I'm fucking hilarious. No, okay. Well, I'm out.
But
I'm leaving.
I do want to open all of your briefcases.
Oh my god. No, but my train of thought is a hypochondriac goes from 0 to 100 in being fine one day and terrible the next. And it's all based on their own like behavior. And that's how I am, man.
You're a manic fan. Yes.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago, I had never seen an episode of Dragon Ball Z. I'd never thought about it ever. Then one day I was shown an episode.
You shit-talked it even.
I
You did.
To me.
Yeah. I was shown a movie. I was shown Resurrection F when it came out, and I was like, well, this is fucking cool. And now I've seen all of it.
I think you've watched more than I have, and I watched that show when it was first on Toonami.
Right.
Oh, man. Those were the days.
I've seen so much of it. Or like Fallout. When Fallout New Vegas, I didn't play 3 when it was out.
I didn't
But
either.
I played New Vegas because somebody lent me their copy of it. I played New Vegas for a long time, and then I stopped when I beat New Vegas to my satisfaction. I stopped. I went back and I played 3. But then I went back and I played 1 and 2.
Yeah, those are
And
tough.
like Brotherhood of Steel, or what it was supposed to be. Like, I live the thing in the moment. I need it. It's impulsive.
And I think that we all do that as a comment on what kind of nerds we all are.
But I let it affect my
Well, that's what I was
bank
going to say is
account.
like we are when we went to MegaCon a couple of years ago, and you can find that on our YouTube, and you can subscribe to our YouTube. When we went to MegaCon, we used to walk through, and the year that was like we all asked each other, what should I be looking out for you, Derek, and for you, Dylan, and for you, PJ? Because at the time you were like, I love fucking Breaking Bad, and I want Spider-Man stuff. And my answer that year, I was like, Batman's cool, Joker's always something, but like really, I want Iron Man this year. It was just something, and now I've got a bunch of Iron Man stuff, and I'm into something different. We all wax and wane, because I think all nerddom is cool nerddom, but it is interesting to see our specifics. So ultimately, your problem might be that you dive too deeply into your things.
Too deep, too fast.
So you are that sounds like a good time. So you are a bright nerd. You are a science nerd. You said you are an art nerd, and I guess that makes me a story nerd. Those are cool kinds of nerds to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Good talk, guys. So this has been a great conversation. Listeners, thanks for being here with us, but we're going to have to take just a brief moment here because outside there are probably 65 what look to be cyborg ducks. They're big. They're big. They're coming. Oh my God, they're getting too close. Patrick, move away from the window.
Oh my God!
Move away from the window. Okay, when we come back, we're going to be talking with Dylan about your favorite parts and the do's and don'ts of nerd culture. But
let's hurry up. They're getting
right
close.
now, get the guns. Look, just
I'm dying.
They're in the house.
just stay tuned for the next part of Unmasked on Air. Thanks for being here.